This is Joan Jerkovich, your life coach here on News Radio 1150 KSAL. I'm ready to take some callers, and I'm ready to stir up some trouble, get into some depth of information, and maybe some issues that all of us have struggled with at some point in our lives. Let's also have a little bit of fun. So, Lou, what would you like life coaching on today?
Well, I'm looking at the connections between food and wellness.
Well, that's...
And how the kinds of food you eat are determined maybe by your personality type.
Have you had personal struggles with food and wellness, health, weight, any of those issues?
I have at some points in my life. In fact, I've recently pulled off about 60 pounds and about 15 inches.
Oh, my goodness. Congratulations. That's a big feat. That's a huge accomplishment. You know what? I would love to hear from you, Lou. I don't know if this is the direction you wanted to go in, but I would really love to hear from you, and I know the listeners out there would as well. What does it take to get started and motivated to lose 60 pounds?
Well, you have to, I think, the first thing you have to do is you have to cut out 2 words in your diet, and that's drive-through.
I didn't expect to hear that. Supersize Me is the next one, right?
Well, yeah, supersize.
I mean, we don't even do that anymore. I don't even think they have that option available. They got so outed by Morgan Spurlock. Was that his name? Who did the Supersize Me documentary? Yeah. Did you see that by chance?
I did. That wasn't what affected me. What got me was a severe chronic gout. Of course, it's hereditary, so I can't get around that part.
Now, you said severe chronic gout?
Yeah.
Gout. Okay, right. That's very painful. Yeah, and that's a little bit different than... So let me ask you this, Lou. Then your gout kind of kept you from getting the physical exercise you normally would or could have done to keep the weight down?
In 2012, I had 9 days where I wasn't going to flare. I spent most of that year on a walker or a cane.
Oh, my goodness. Whoa, you have a bad series of it, a bad one.
Yeah. And it affects my knees, unfortunately. But I started going through a series of different kinds of coaching and went through, and I'm also an amateur chef, so I do a lot of things with food.
You know, that chef thing can be a double-edged sword. You obviously, if you're a chef, you love food, but most chefs I know, at least I watch tons of cooking shows, you know, they're always just a little bit overweight because, of course, they also love to eat. And I'll be honest with you, Lou, if I see a skinny chef, I don't want to eat what they cook. You know, I just don't think skinny and chef, I mean, they can, healthy and chef can go together. But, you know, there's, you know, I like to watch the Food Network. You know, I pretty much watch every program. I think yesterday I was watching this marathon of Chopped. You know, you're familiar with that show.
Oh, yeah.
But so tell me some more of your story. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of maybe had a little too much caffeine this morning. I'm kind of jumping in too much. I'm putting on my listening hat. Go ahead, Lou. I'm putting on my listening hat.
You know, I started looking at a lot of different things. What were my habits? Why wasn't I exercising? What was creating problems? What was I doing medically that might have been affecting, you know, symptoms and circumstances? And I started changing some things up, became part of a clinical study. And over the course of that time, since about 2013 forward, I've gone from 4 meds to 2. I've changed radically everything in my dietary profile. And I started looking at habits. When was I eating? What was I eating? What was the quantity of what I was eating? And why was I eating so doggone much all the time? You know, I looked at stress, I looked at sleep, I looked at exercise, I looked at events in life that changed makeup and things like that. And what was in the actual construction of everything I was eating? What was it made of? What were the ingredients? And I came to a lot of very weird conclusions once I started putting pen and paper together. There's a chemical component to everything in nutrition that is affected by what we're doing mood-wise or what we're doing, you know, with our lives. And so now I've taken all of I've got about probably 500 of 3,000 recipes measured because I don't measure, and in the traditional sense.
No, you just, when you're a chef, you're kind of throwing it together because you know how to do that. I mean, you just have an innate sense of, I need a little bit of this and a little bit of that. That's part of the art and creativity. So you started really getting measured about what you were even looking at cooking, your recipes.
Portion sizes, how to make something filling without making it huge, and what nutritional components could I put in to create certain flavors, such as one that we all use too much of is salt. It's in almost anything. And how could I drop the amount of salt, which in turn stops you from retaining more fluid than you're supposed to? And I'm not talking about water. I'm talking about toxic fluids that gather as a result of just the product of your body doesn't handle all the stuff that it's trying to process. And as I've started working with this more and more, I've been able to really modify radically what I cook and how I do it, so I can produce a salty flavor by combining certain other ingredients to achieve the same taste. And it's fun to experiment again. I'm becoming kind of like, Dr. Frankenfood.
I love that, Dr. Frankenfood. Listen, I'm sitting here, Lou, thinking you need to have a book out on this, because I don't care that you're doing all this research on your own. You've learned a lot, and I'm telling you, you're speaking the testimonial because you've lost the weight. You've changed your life with this. I love that book name, Dr. Frankenfood. You better hurry up and copyright that when we get off the phone here, because I think that would sell. And I think your process would sell, because so many people are looking for, answers. And, you're already throwing some things, and I have to jump in here since I'm already talking. I'll throw my question out there. But you can't let us go without telling us what the trick is to making something filling, but not so huge that it, of course, puts on the unwanted weight. What's one of the tricks of making things filling? Is it fiber? What is it?
It's managing the actual dietary component. Now, fiber is something that exists in certain foods. Obviously most of your salad greens and things like that. But it's managing the nutritional components that you need so that what you eat burns off more than what you consume.
Okay, that all sounds great, but you lost me on that. And I think that's another cool part of tagline for your book, managing your nutritional components, but break it down for us. What does it exactly mean? Because it sounds good.
What I've looked at in every nutrition program I've seen, and even the ones I'm currently using that are working, is that there's building blocks of a meal, and the building blocks are protein, carbohydrates, and fats. And inside that are subgroups of those components. There are good proteins and there are bad proteins. There are good fats and there are bad fats. There's good carbohydrates and there's bad carbohydrates. And then I started looking medically at how our body goes into different cycles in digestion and how it's working and how you can actually burn fat at night. And I've read, dozens and dozens of books on this. And most of them all seem to point to some of the same things.
What? I can lose fat while I sleep? That's the best diet ever. Yeah. Make that the title of your second book, Lose Fat While You Sleep. I've got big plans for you, Lou.
Okay. Well,
just let me write the foreword. Just let me write the foreword in the introduction as a life coach.
That'll be fun.
So
I'll
don't let us
on the cloud, and we can collaborate on it.
Absolutely, let's collaborate. You can't let us go on that one either. What's this lose fat while you sleep thing?
If you schedule things at certain times of the day, your body becomes more efficient at burning off excess calories, the fat that you store versus the fat that you're born with. And liposuction will not cure fat. Everybody's under a false assumption. All liposuction does is suck out the fat that we accumulate. We're all born with a certain amount of it, and we need it to survive. This provides several functions. One is insulation, the other one's energy.
Well, the other thing about that liposuction that's kind of interesting to me is that, you suck it out of, let's say your love handles around your waist, and you do take those fat cells out that then are gone and can't be plumped back up. But then the next thing you know, you wake up with a double chin when you start putting on, you know what I'm saying? It's going to go somewhere. I totally...
You reaccumulate. And I'm not...
Yes.
I do not personally, I'm not a doctor, and I don't want to be one. I used to think I did, but no, thank you. We've got
Dr. Frankenfood. You won't.
It's kind of stopping that desire.
Well, I'll tell you what. You just call yourself Dr. Frankenfood, and you're a doctor. We'll graduate you. We'll put the cap on your head. So
it'd be but it's when you do something surgically to alter your body.
Yes.
You're creating potentials for infection, number one. Number two, the alteration of your body creates a situation that puts the body in long-term shock. Now, this is an opinion. It's not medical, but it's just a personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
If you invade the body with a knife, you've done no worse. You've done no better than carving up the turkey on Thanksgiving.
Okay. Take that, all you plastic surgery people. We're just carving you up like a Thanksgiving turkey.
I just don't. I don't like anything invasive.
Yeah,
the body is an amazing piece of engineering. It's one of the most well-designed structures ever, regardless of what anybody's personal beliefs are. We'll talk about that offline. But, when you look at the structures and how balance is achieved and how the body supports itself as a structure, where the load bearing is done. Where the center of balance is for a man versus a woman, and why. And you start creating all these things. That's why men don't carry babies on the hip. They're not designed that way. They carry them higher.
And quit making fun of our big fat, I wanted to say a word, but we're on radio here, FCC radio. So, but we have the hips to carry babies. That's the way we're supposed to be made.
And you're bending all the time to pick them up off the floor.
True.
So you pivot at the hips, men pivot more at the torso.
Mm-hmm.
And there's different reasons for that. We're usually pushing something, pulling something, picking something up to carry it long distances. Or we're beating each other up, and that's why arms exist.
Warfare, yeah.
But food is warfare too, and the way that we live nowadays, we're trying to produce massive amounts of food. We're producing, watermelon-sized strawberries by altering the genetic components, and when you do that, you create something that wasn't as nature designed it.
Yes, I get to where I'm getting.
Nutrition.
You know what? It's frustrating to me, Lou, because I want to go get an apple at the grocery store, because, of course, that's a healthy piece of your diet, bring your fruits in here. But then you get these apples that have become the size of cantaloupes. And you're like, well, wait a minute, I don't want to have to cut half an apple and then it gets kind of brown and then it sits in my refrigerator and I don't want to eat it. Or you know what you're going to do? You're looking at that thing going, I'm going to eat the whole thing. I'm going to sit down and eat the whole thing in one setting. I am getting really kind of tired myself of all of our fruits and vegetables getting just supersized as well. I think that's also kind of part of the problem. Maybe there's some...
Water is weight. Most of your produce is sold by weight, so that's a profit motive.
Yeah, I was going to say it's all a financial thing. So I didn't think about it as water weight and it's sold by weight. So gotcha. That's the reason, that's the reason they do it.
Yeah, and most people eat so much salt and other things, they're looking for a base to compensate the acidity of their bodies. If you want to see how acidic certain people are, look at how they wear their jewelry and see if it turns their hands black.
Yeah. Don't call me out on that. I'm looking at my hands right now and they're all black, but I know I'm a salt addict. But I don't have any problems with blood pressure or anything, but I never thought about it then causing cravings.
Mm-hmm. And so people that are craving things, and this is really funny because there's a lot of chocoholics out there, I would bet that they've got a deficiency in potassium and manganese. Trace elements you have to survive. Manganese you need for regulatory functions, things like thyroid, whatnot, and certain endocrine functions that are spit out by the pituitary gland. And then you need, of course, potassium is where your memory comes from. It helps your brain remember things. Mm-hmm. It's a balanced salt.
So you think chocoholics have a deficiency in potassium and manganese. Have you read any research on that?
I've read all kinds of different books. I can't off the top of my head quote everything that I've seen. But when you've got a body that is out of whack to the point that it's acidic, and that's when you accumulate too much sugar, when you accumulate too much salt, you're craving something else. Usually salt crave something sweet to balance the taste. I'm just going through just observations of thousands of meals and thousands of encounters as I've watched people consume food, and including myself.
Right.
I'm the guy that craved a lot of salt, used to. And so where did I get my salt? Well, it was that family-sized bag of chips that I would eat sitting there for lunch and snacks.
Yeah, I love the vinegar and salt. I love the, I said salt, and I love the vinegar and salt. What was that?
So I would then balance that. I balanced that out with eating 4 or 5 giant Snickers logs. I can't call them bars because you need a chainsaw to cut them in half.
I'm getting hungry.
Your body starts craving things because you've got something out of balance, and it's trying to bring itself back to center. The body needs to be a little bit alkaline. And when it's alkaline, what ends up happening is that the sugars that are stored in the fat get consumed by the proteins that you're eating. And then the long-burn fats that you're using, the olive oils, the omega-3, 6s, and 9s that we're all supposed to be eating lots of, they're able to do their work in building skin elasticity, stopping scarring, healing up existing scar tissue in the organs and outside, helping you recover from surgeries, making your eyes perform better because the muscles now can work more fluidly. And then the fluids that you do absorb, especially water, you should always drink half your body weight in ounces a day.
I know. I don't like that. I'm a total caffeine junkie too. Throw me some news on caffeine, because that's my. I defend my addiction. By golly, I defend my addiction to caffeine. It's one that I go to my doctor, and she's always mad at me. She says, "You drink way too much soda pop. You drink way too much coffee. You're too much caffeine." And I'm just like, can I have any addiction in my life? I mean, come on. I could be addicted to something worse. But tell me what I need to know.
Yeah. Phenylalanine, like the sweetener used in most sodas and diet sodas, is a toxin.
Oh, yeah.
If you drink regular pop, you're drinking a lot of high fructose corn syrup, which is a poison in the body. It accumulates and it forms. It just makes your body go acid, which makes you crave things like caffeine. Too much caffeine overstimulates the adrenal gland, so it puts you in a constant fight or flight mode. Which means that little things like driving in traffic make you panicked and rage-filled.
Well, unless you're like me, you're already pretty acclimated to it. So, not really. I mean, there's times I can overdo it and feel jittery, but it's, most of the time it's, I know I'm hitting it hard, but I'm so used to it. And then if I tried to go cold turkey, I'm sure I'd have some withdrawal. I'm sure I would.
Yeah.
But I think the idea, like you said, about sodas, putting you in a acidotic state, that kind of thing, I think there really is something to that. And also, because I notice different things that, happen from drinking too much soda. So I say I'm addicted, but I know to kind of back it off and all that. Yeah. Lou, I think we have, if you don't mind, I have some more questions for you because you're just so fascinating to talk to, but we've got to head into a break. Can you hold on and talk a little more?
Sure.
Okay. Well, listeners, we're going to come back here with Lou, our Dr. Frankenfood, and we're going to hear some more about his personal research he's done to lose 60 pounds. I think there's more for us to learn. You're here with Joan Jerkovich, your life coach on News Radio 1150 KSAL. Well, listeners, you're back with Joan Jerkovich, your life coach, and we're talking to Lou. I've named him, and he named himself, Dr. Frankenfood, because he went on this quest to decide for himself, really sit down and study this. And I want to know more about who you really are, Lou. You sound like some kind of researcher or whatever, but he's a chef, and he's learned how to look at his food and what it's doing in his body, maybe how he needs to make changes, and he succeeded in losing 60 pounds. pounds. No small feat. Welcome back, Lou. I'm so excited you decided to stay and talk some more with us. I'm going to jump in with one of my questions I've kind of been burning on, as I'm hearing you talk about so many fascinating things about how sugars and salts and good fats, bad fats. You said something about the good and the bad proteins. I want to hear about that because I'm kind of a believer in protein. I'm kind of like a real, I'm really addicted to my meat. Ugh, love my meat. Don't ever force me to be a vegan or vegetarian. It just isn't going to happen. So what are the good and bad proteins? Tell me what you found about that.
Well, thanks for continuing on with me, Joan. The thing about meats is that you have to vary things. So if you do a little beef, then do a couple of portions of chicken to balance that off. Do a couple of portions of fish so you get all the balances of the omegas that you need to help your body heal, to help your body stay strong, to improve the functions of things like your lungs and your heart and your bloodstream. And, all of those things are little components that enhance the body's ability to clean itself up. You replace your cells every week in your body. Your blood gets replaced, your skin gets replaced, you get a whole new layer of it every week. In my case, you don't get so much hair because I use it to let comb.
Okay. Well, and you're not speaking as...
the way, I don't have to wear a funny hat when I'm in the kitchen.
Yeah, and but you're not speaking on as someone who's like you're kind of a do-it-yourself food researcher. I mean, I don't want, you to throw these things out there and either you or I profess that you're like a true nutritionist or dietitian or, food researcher and that kind of thing. But this is kind of like all of us, Lou. Sometimes when we're trying to find our own answers, you've really gone on this incredible quest and journey to find some answers by reading lots of things, doing your own little, research thing. So, one component, you're getting into a whole lot of how you lost this 60 pounds. And it seems to me in listening to you that one thing you did was you just really dove in intellectually into the whole process of what food does and how it affects your body. Now, I've heard that, and if my listeners are just catching on, they need to listen to the first, piece of our conversation before we went to break, and they'll hear that. But what I wondered you could maybe share with us is what is that spark that motivated you to get started on losing the weight? Because to me, that's the piece that's always the hardest, is getting started and staying on track.
The thing about it is that you have to get to a point where there's a point of no return for you. If you don't do anything, or if you do it wrong, you're going to get worse. And I got tired of swallowing handfuls of pills.
Oh,
when you're relegated, when you're in a bottle and it's not something that's pleasant to consume, or must be taken with food or something like that, and it's not producing any results, you're not. In my case, I wasn't getting any relation to pain. It was just kind of, sort of, maybe masking it, but not curing it, not getting it out of my system where I could function well.
Right.
That's where I made a change. And I said, I've got to look at everything that I'm doing. I can't just look at the medicine. I can't blame the medicine. I can't blame whether or not I'm getting enough water a day. I can't blame what I'm drinking or not drinking. I've got to look at my overall well-being and figure out what the heck is going on with me.
So when you made this quest to go ahead and figure out your diet, did that improve your health?
Absolutely.
Wow.
In 2014, or actually since 2013, now about September of last year or late August, I have not had one single flare.
With your gout you talked about earlier.
Not one flare of gout. The walker and the cane are stuck in the closet. I've been giving them to Goodwill. I have changed everything in my life radically. I mean, for me, it was very radical. I know, depending on where I work, when I'm working from my home office, I may work out as many as 5 times a day.
What? Okay, you're getting kind of OCD on me. Now you've lost me because I'm not going to do that. You work out 5 times a day. What do? Just pick up some barbells for 5 minutes? Tell me what this 5 times a day thing is.
I throw a yoga mat on the floor. I do a couple of hundred crunches. I'll do about a 2 or 3 minute plank, and I'll lift weights about 200 to 300 reps. Takes all of about 10 minutes.
Okay, so you're running about 50 minutes of exercise 5 times a day for 10 minutes. Is that kind of, and that works and that's, do you think that's as effective as someone who goes and hits the treadmill and does some weights for 50 minutes in one setting?
It's just as effective. Because of my schedule, sometimes it's the only way I get enough exercise. And then on those days when I can make the gym, I might go in and I don't work for 50 minutes when I hit the gym. I'll do like maybe an hour and a half.
Okay.
Sometimes 2.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to hit the gym, it's very early in the morning, because if I do it very early in the morning, then the rest of the day, obviously, I've got to do all my work, catch up. But the other thing is, whatever workouts I'm doing, continue to produce caloric burn for another 48 hours.
Wow. So even those 10-minute stints are going to stretch it out.
They just add up over time. Right. And if I do a workout if I do a short little brief kind of a workout in the evening, then when I go to sleep, I find I sleep more soundly. Yes. Since I've taken off the amount of weight that I've taken, and I've dropped about 5 sizes in clothing. Even in my shirts, I've dropped 1.5 inches in my neck. Wow, that's 60 pounds. So, that's going to happen. So now, when you mentioned yoga, you mentioned the plank, some yoga. What other types of exercise do you do? Something on the floor. Sure. Instead of getting rug burns from doing crunches, the yoga mat's there to protect my skin from being burned by the floor. Yeah. And what else do you do, like when you go to the gym? I will do free weights. I do some circuit training. I don't enjoy walking and running in circles. So if I'm going to do something like that, then I get outside. Yes. And I'll either ride a bike for a good 2 hours. I'll do all my shopping and my errands with a backpack on, and I'll just, whatever I can put in the backpack, that's what goes with me. So you completely changed your life, because when you were 60 pounds, you were probably a couch potato. I worked a lot, and I still work a lot. It's just that the ability for me to formulate ideas, come up with creative things, to be more productive, has increased because of the way I've changed the nutritional components that I'm taking in. Now, is your work like at a computer, head stuff, or is it physical labor, manual labor? It's mostly head stuff. I'm in and out. I sell real estate for a living. Okay. I write books for a hobby. I review a book a week. Mm-hmm. I review restaurants often. And I look for all kinds of things that I can write about. And then I have a very active lifestyle. I go to a lot of meetings. I go to a lot of, obviously, this day and age, I go see a whole lot of homes that I hope we can buy for somebody to get sold. Sure. Lou, I can't let you. Yeah, I can't let you go though without you're telling your personal story, and there may not be a correlation between my next question. But if there's anything in all that you've learned from your own journey, what can you tell those people who are trying to find motivation not based on the fact that they have a health issue? That was your primary motivation. How about those people who just say, and not 60 pounds, but 15, 20 pounds, to fit in their clothes again? Or what can you tell those people? Start somewhere. And then do something every day. Just do some little something. So if you, when I started exercising, I was doing maybe 10 crunches. Really? That was a struggle. And that was a struggle. Now I do about 200 a set. Wow. So it doesn't take long to build up. But if you do 10 to start with, then the next day you try to do 12, and the next day you try to do 15, and the next day you try to do 17. You just add a little increment. You don't have to do everything all at once. That's self-defeating. Yes. And it's a way that you say, I can't do this. If I've got to do 15 today and I've got to do 50 tomorrow, I'm not going to make it. Yes. But if you start small and you just keep incrementing, then you're going to make it. With food, it's going to be difficult sometimes to cut back on all the things you think you love. Yeah, I know. And in your case, I can see where, speaking to that, it might be difficult to cut out all the coffee in your diet. Yeah.
And I'm not so worried
But it
even.
wouldn't be hard to cut out one cup.
That's true. That's true. But what about those people who migrate to the chocolate or the chocoholics or the chipaholics or the Oreos? What is it? Yeah. How do you break that? How do you break that cycle where you crave it, you want it so bad, you're trying to talk yourself out of it while you're driving to the grocery store? Do I sound like I know what I'm talking about here? Do you try to talk yourself out of driving yourself to the store and saying, yes, I'm going to have that today. I'm going to grab my favorite snacks and go home, have a snack fest. And how do you break that? How do you?
I would stop at the Quick Stop and pick up a bag of chips on the way to the store to buy more.
See, you know what I'm talking about. How do you break that? How do we break that? How do we break that mental mindset where we're talking ourselves in it, out of, in it, out of, in it, out of? Next thing you know, once you've paid for it at the checkout counter, you're in the car opening it before you drive on your drive home.
I learned how to replace the things that I wanted, the salt flavor and the crunch and the things like that, with other things. So I would take a bowl of red cabbage and cut that into little chunks that I could break pieces off of, and I'd put some lemon juice and dill on it, and I'd just eat it like chips.
That sounds like gross. Really? You expect me to?
Believe it or not, it's good.
You're kidding me. I mean, okay, now just to even
it's
think,
got that salty kind of a flavor to it, and it had the crunch that I wanted.
Crunch.
So that it satisfied the mechanical things that I was doing.
Yes.
And I'd say, okay, while I'm trying to change, and I mean, we're talking about eating a 3-pound bag of chips a day.
Oh, my goodness. At least you're fessing up. At least, Lou, you're fessing up to that's why you were fat. The people that say, but I don't eat anything. And you're like, are you kidding me? I mean, I don't know.
I would stress eat. I'd get all agitated over something, and I'm through that 2-letter word that causes you to be obese in the drive-through.
Now, what was the word that causes you to be overweight? Or
drive-through.
Drive-through. Oh, yes.
Snack bar. It was my goal when I was miserable to go into every restaurant that had those 4 words, all you can eat.
Yes.
And I was in laps like at Indy, trying to put them out of business in one sitting.
Yes, I've seen those people.
And now I can't do that. I can't even go into a fast food restaurant anymore because I've cleaned up my body to the point that when I go in there and I smell that fryer oil,
oh yeah,
it nauseates me.
There are decent choices in the restaurant, but those fast food restaurants, but there's tons of temptation for the other stuff. I mean, sure as I'm looking at my salad with a little grilled chicken on top, I'm looking at that person with the large fries, and I'm like, oh, really? I want those fries. This chicken isn't as good. Yeah, it's like an addiction. It's like an addiction, and I find that when I get into the habit of eating better, it gets easier and easier and easier. But getting started sometimes is the hard part, and almost like falling off the wagon.
The more processed the food is, and this is where we really get in trouble. The more processed a piece of food is, and I don't care what it is.
Right.
The more processing that goes into it, that means that manufacturer somewhere has had to have added some kind of flavor enhancer or some kind of flavoring that may or may not be totally natural. I mean, the natural flavoring that's a sweetening in most things is pear juice.
Pear juice.
It's so high in carbs.
Yes.
It is so outrageously high in carbs. And it's been concentrated by reduction that makes it even that much more sweet, that we start craving that stimulus in our brain. And when we do that, we get into the habit of doing it, which is what everybody wants us to do, so we buy more.
I swear to you, Lou, the last time I had some French fries at Wendy's, I'm sitting there eating those going, I swear they put sugar on these fries because I like the salty, but I'm also very attuned to sugar because I'm not as much into the sweet. If you try to throw something sweet on my dinner dish, I'm like, ugh, I don't like that combination. And I swear they had a little touch of sugar. And I'm, feeding them to my husband going, don't you taste sugar in these fries? I don't even like these fries. But you can guarantee in a big chain like that, they taste tested those with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's just, every little thing that, so I try to get things that, if it comes in a can or if it comes in a bag, I do still eat some cheese, but if it comes in a bag, generally I won't buy it.
Wow, you're just like totally whole food, fresh food guy. You know what?
I have found ways to take things like tomatoes and slice those up. I keep a bowl in my refrigerator when I'm working from home. I keep a huge fat bowl of baby spinach leaves, and I eat those instead of chips. They're almost no calories. They're high calcium. They're high in vitamin B. They're high in iron. And they taste great.
But no, they don't. You're like my friend who's all excited about her green shake she has for breakfast every morning with lots of kelp in it. And I'm like, I would probably throw up. I'm serious. But I think it's, again, goes back to, I shouldn't get all, whatever crazy about what you're saying, Lou, because it totally makes sense. And yet I'm still here to say it's that mindset. It's that changing mindset. And I would guarantee, wouldn't you say that you just feel better when you eat better?
I feel phenomenal right now.
Cool.
I've been up since about 3 o'clock yesterday morning.
Whoa.
You never know it.
Wow, no. Listen, we've got to run in. We've got to close here. Can you leave us with just some little tidbits, some piece of wisdom that we're all going to stick in our heads the rest of the week? What can you share with us?
Watch that movie, What About Bob? And this is the cure to all dietary problems that you have if you're trying to change your habits.
Okay.
And the key in that whole thing was a book called Baby Steps.
Okay.
Just take a little step every day instead of trying to climb the whole staircase in one jump. It's just, you just do a little thing here and a little thing there. And you do this consistently over a period of, say, 90 to 120 days. You'll transform your diet, you'll transform your exercise pattern, and you'll build a better life. You'll feel better. You'll feel stronger. You'll feel more confident. And, I did lose 60 pounds in 15 inches.
No kidding. Lou, thanks so much for your call. I'm looking for your book, Dr. Frankenfood, to come out soon because I think you have so much to share with everybody. This has been a heck of a lot of fun, and I hope there are people out there, including myself, who've taken some of this to heart and can maybe start on that 90 to 120-day journey to making some incredible changes in our health and in our lives. Thanks again, Lou, for your call.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
You bet. All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Lou was the perfect example of how when that switch turns on in your head and the mindset is solidified, you will lose weight and you will get serious about the business of losing weight. But stay tuned because there are some positives to be gleaned from making this change. So that's coming up next here on the Joan Jerkovich Show on News Radio 1150 KSAL.